today we're in Raid Shadow Legends, and we're going to be rounding up this Star Wars X Raid Shadow Legends, AI concept collab with Ahsoka Tano and a Mando Grogu combo. So I can't wait to show you guys this, and I hope you like it. But so far, I've been loving the AI images of what we see here. So let's start off with Ahsoka. So I asked, again, ChatGPT asked AI, if Ahsoka was going to be a champ in Raid, what faction would she be in? What would her kit be? And try to make it stick within the existing factions, right? So they said if Ahsoka Tano from Star Wars was adapted as a Raid Shadow Legends champion, she could be designed to fit seamlessly within existing lore aesthetics while capturing the Jedi heritage, her agility, dual-wielding combat, and her strong moral compass. And so they basically give the idea that she would belong in the High Elves. What do you guys think of that? Does High Elves fit Ahsoka? So their justification for why they chose High Elves is the High Elves are known for their mastery of combat discipline and light-based magic, which aligns closely with Ahsoka's Jedi training, graceful fighting style, and her sense of justice. And thinking that the lore centers around protecting the realm with skill, honor, and loyalty, and these are all traits that Ahsoka embodies. They also did say, however, that if, the devs wanted a darker twist to reflect her exile from the Jedi Order and her rogue warrior path, that we could consider her to be in the Sacred Order instead. However, High Elf seems the most natural fitting stylistically and thematically. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Do you love the idea of, High Elf and then possibly Sacred Order? And especially considering that I think I nailed it with these art designs too. So with her, because again, trying to, not be so close to the IP, but kind of making a champ that's very based on her, right? They went with the name of Tanoska the Exile, making her a legendary attack void champion. A visual design, they say, twin glowing energy blades, light blue or white, which echo her dual lightsabers. She's going to have this agile combat ready armor blending tech with some elegance as well. Kind of like an armored elven rogue is how they visualize her. With a subtle nod to her Togruta heritage. There are headdress and her facial markings, which can be stylized to fit Raid's fantasy world as well. I like that they put some thought into the stylization of what her character would actually look like and how it would fit. All right, here's her skills. So we have A1 is Twin Strike. Attacks enemy 2 times, and each hit has a 30% chance of placing a decreased defense, and this damage scales with speed. A2 is called Whirlwind Grace, with a 3-turn cooldown. This one's going to be an AoE, with a 50% chance of removing a random buff from each target. It places a 25% increased accuracy buff and a 30% increased speed buff on all allies for 2 turns. So the animation, they think of a spinning twin blade strike for her. Her A3 is going to be Force of Balance, and this has a 5-turn cooldown. So this one's a revive. We're making her a single target revive. So revives a random ally with 50% HP, then fills the turn meter of all allies by 20%, and places a block debuffs buff on them for 2 turns. Now, it also says if no ally is dead, instead grants an extra turn. And her passive, we have no master, no chains. So she's immune to provoke and fear. She also heals herself by 10% of max HP when an enemy places a crowd control debuff on an ally. I think that's kind of a unique passive. I like that. What do you guys think? And then her auras increases ally speed in all battles by 19%. So they envision her role in the raid meta to shine in PvP arena. So they're saying with her turn meter boosting and her speed aura, as well as her crowd control immunity, an AoE cleanse buff can make her excellent for a control team. She would also be really good in Doom Tower with her utility and buff removal speed and revive without relying on a strict support role. And obviously in Faction Wars for her High Elf, useful for both damage and support mechanics, especially in revive situations. And then I did ask her a little lore snippet of how they thought she would fit into Raid. So it says, again, we're looking at High Elf. She turned her back on the Order, but never on Justice. So once a prodigy of the Celestial Blades, an elite order swore to protect Aravia with wisdom and steel. Tanoska walked away from their rigid doctrines after discovering the corruption festering within. Branded a traitor, yet guided by an unshakable moral compass, she now wanders the land as a rogue guardian, wielding twin spectral sabers and striking only when the cause is just. Though many whisper her name with suspicion, the innocent know her as the blade that moves unseen, until it's too late for their enemies. Guys, what do you think about all of this for Ahsoka? Do you like the designs? Do you like the skills, what they did? I think it does fit her pretty well. Now let's head on to Mando and Grogu. Now this one honestly is probably my favorite in this Star Wars series. Let me know what you guys think. Now for this, I kind of had a different vision in mind. So I asked if Mando and Grogu were duo champion in Raid Shadow Legends, what would they belong in? Same thing, asking for faction, skills and kit. Make this fit to the current game branding. However, I did have an extra request, is I wanted the champion design and skill combo to be similar to the Ultimate Death Knight Mr. Nibbles champion dynamic. So again, if you guys are familiar with Ultimate Death Knight Mr. Nibbles in this game, is that we have Ultimate Death Knight's ability to do the fear, where we actually see Mr. Nibbles attack the opponents, and kind of like the zigzag, and then kind of comes back. And then we also have when Ultimate Death Knight is just kind of standing still every now and then, Mr. Nibbles kind of like runs up and down him. So I had this thought that for Mando Grogu, they should do something kind of similar. And that's what you see images here as well too. And again, I think AI did a really good job. So they said that if Mando and Grogu were added to Raid as a dual-style champion, kind of like, Ultimate Death Knight Mr. Nibbles, they're going to be a mix of Protector and Mystic support, blending tankiness with this magical utility. Now, to stay within Raid's existing faction and thematics, they thought that this kind of like duo would fit into Sacred Order. So they said Sacred Order has armored knights with a code of honor, which fits Mando's Mandalorian creed. Grogu's Force-like powers can be reinterpreted as sacred or arcane magic, giving the duo a grounded and lore reason to exist in the faction. I like it. And then what they went for the champion concept is instead of calling it like Mando Grogu, they actually call this champion the Vow-bound. So Legendary Sacred Order Defense. And kind of the flavor text for this is bound by creed, guided by unseen hands, and stronger together than apart. I really like that. For anybody that's a fan of like the Mandalorian series and, Mando Grogu, I think that's cute and I just love it. So the envisioning is a stoic warrior in ornate, battle-worn armor that stands tall, and Grogu cradled safely and a reinforced sling across his chest. Grogu peeks out using powers at key moments to protect or to turn the tide. So here we go with the skill and the kits here too. So we have them as a legendary defense support tank, magic affinity, and the idea being like ally protector, debuff redirection, and reactive support. So for his skills, A1, we have Whistling Vengeance, a single target attack with a conditional AoE. So we have attacks one enemy. If this attack is a crit, launches a mini missile AoE that hits all enemies for 40% initial damage, with a 50% chance to place a decreased attack for 2 turns on the main target. So then we have Grogu having some animation here too. So they say the Grogu animation trigger is Grogu peeks out and squeaks when AoE missiles fire. Oh my god, that's so cute. It's like, I don't know, it's like they wrote this one for me. That's adorable. A2 is called Beskar Guardian with a 3-turn cooldown. So this is going to be an ally protection and a buff ability. Places a shield buff on all allies equal to 20% of this champion's max HP for 2 turns. And also places a strengthen and a block debuff on the ally with the lowest HP. So for this, Grogu has an animation as well, where Grogu holds out his hands as a faint blue glow envelopes the protected ally. I love it. A3 this is the way with a 4-turn cooldown. It's gonna be a passive reflect and counter skill with this like thematic flair. So whenever an ally is targeted by a single target skill, redirects 25% of the damage to this champion before mitigation, with a 50% chance to counterattack the attacker. And each time this happens, Grogu has a 25% chance to restore 10% of this champion's HP and to cleanse a debuff. And there's a bonus here. So bonus. So if Grogu heals 3 times in 1 round, all allies receive a 50% continuous heal for a turn. I love that. They already make Mando very strong, and then they have Grogu seem to be a very, very, compatible healing support kind of champion as well. Now the passive is called the Foundling Bond. So it's going to be a reactive duo synergy. It says whenever this champion is hit by a critical hit, Grogu retaliates by placing a weakened debuff for 2 turns on the attacker. Additionally, if an ally drops below 25% HP, Grogu grants a one-time unkillable for a turn, and it's once per battle per ally. Okay, they really made Grogu very, very like useful in this, right? Like he's not just there to look cute. Like obviously what they envisioned for him could really be useful. And I can see why they talked about him just, being support or helping to turn the tide. And the aura is going to be increases ally defense to all battles by 33%. I think that fits too. For the visual design, is we have Mando with this like dark silver armor with gold sacred order etchings with this T-shaped visor that's stylized into a medieval helm. So you can kind of like see that in some of these designs here, right? For Grogu, we have him in a satchel on the chest with glowing eyes and small hand motions during skills. Never fully emerges, but he's always present. That's cute. So he never actually pops out of the satchel. He's just kind of like hanging out in there. And then for animations, it says subtle and grounded with flares of force-like visual effects when Grogu acts. Nothing sci-fi, only like mystical, divine energy inspired that we try to keep with Raid stylizations. And they consider for the play style, they see the Vowbound being a strong defensive tank who thrives in the long games, like in long battles. Designed for Doom Tower, Faction War, and Arena, with the passive abilities offering consistent team utility through shields, redirecting, and emergency saves. And the Grogu aspect triggers conditionally, emphasizing protective synergy without overwhelming the battlefield with flashiness. I think that's really great. And then I did ask for like a little lore snippet of, how the Vowbound would fit into here. So this is what they came up with. He walks not for glory nor vengeance, but for a promise etched deeper than any oath. The child he carries is not kin by blood, but by creed. A bond forged in fire, war, and something far older. Whispers speak of the small one's unseen power, a force that bends fate itself. Yet neither flaunt strength nor seek domination. They walk the sacred path, where steel defends and light heals. One protects with Beskar and resolve, the other with silent power and unwavering trust. Together, they are more than warrior and ward. They are Vowbound. I love it, guys. And like I said, I feel like this Mando Grogu Vowbound is probably my favorite of this whole Star Wars X Raid AI Imagined, collab concept series, right? I think it's so fitting that ends up being the last one. Guys, drop us some comments down below what you think. I know that we talked about Ahsoka, we talked about Mando Grogu, and I hope you guys enjoyed this series. I think we're gonna keep it up. I'm thinking June might be like solo leveling or something. I think that could be kind of fun. But stay tuned. Maybe drop some comments down below on, what IPs do you think would be fun to do this like AI concept to reimagine with? Could be animes, could be cartoons, movies, TV series, kind of the sky is the limit. I really enjoyed doing Star Wars for Star Wars month. And I have some ideas for some animes and for other things I think would be kind of cool too. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Let me know which of the Star Wars characters was your favorite. Was there somebody you think that we should have done? I mean, there's only so many we can do, right? We only have so much time. There's so many amazing Star Wars characters. Let me know what you guys think, and thanks for watching.